first stage that we want to work on, and taking a nice forward stride all the way straight down the ice, completing the stride, making it as fast as what we could possibly make it, is the first few strides. So I say the first 5 strides is normally, for me, almost the first 10 or 15 strides. Think about when you're driving a car, you've got your first gear, and your first gear is high, really high revs, and so we want to do the exact same thing when we start. We want to go from 0 miles an hour to 100 miles an hour as quickly as we possibly can, so our strides have no glide. So how I describe it is, sometimes there's those drills that a coach would lay out 5 or 6 sticks, and what the players would do would be jump over the sticks for acceleration purposes. So if I took a stride with my left and then a glide with my right, I would hit the sticks, right? So what we want to do is avoid the glide. So we don't actually glide onto that leg. All we're doing is taking strides, strides, strides. The most important part of this drill is the stride has got to be very, very explosive. So explosive simply means we want it to be very quick. We want it to be not a full extension. So a full extension would look like what we've been working on, nice and long. Less full would look something like this, but the recovery of the stride would be very explosive. So we want our stride to be quick and our recovery to be explosive. We want to make sure that the kids are always starting with an explosive stride. The quickest way to start is always a crossover start. Always have them practice on their left side. If I'm practicing as a lefty, on my left leg, crossing over, my stick points to where I want to go on my backhand side, and I sit down nice and low. This is a player waiting for a bus. This is a player ready to skate at a AAA level. On the other side, I would do the exact same thing. My stick would point to where I want to go. My arms would be wound up, arms away from my body, knees nice and bent, almost as if I'm ready to pounce. The reason why we're not doing a V start, so you might have heard of a V start. If I'm skating in this direction, set my legs up like a V. I have never seen a V start ever in hockey before. It's always a crossover start. We always stop, not turn our body and then start skating in the direction we want to go. We always stop and then start. Normally we turn the stop and crossover start, those two things, into one, so that it's not a stop, but it's actually like a spring. So we spring out of the stop and start. So in the exact same way, I always teach crossover start. So now the only thing with the crossover start is a lot of players might have a nice strong left leg and then right leg crossover, and then there's a pause right here. They turn their upper body, and then there's a slight pause before they get to the chop, 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 quick stride, explosive recovery. So our most important thing that we teach the kids is the second you get that leg down and you cross over, you bust out the next 5 strides as quickly as you can, eliminating any type of pause that we might have in our strides. So I'll do a few more demonstrations, and you can check out just how quickly my crossover is, and then how quickly I bust out the next 5 strides. Most important thing, again, just listen to the noise. The recovery should always sound very, very explosive. When I'm taking the strides, I kind of do this. I kind of hold my breath, and just to get those first 5 strides out. So I don't really want you thinking about anything else when you're taking those first, again, I say 5 strides, 5 to 15 strides, just to accelerate. I don't want you thinking about very much. I just want you thinking about going in a nice straight line, and I don't want you to think about breathing. Okay, so it's just one sort of, almost like when you set your legs for the crossover start, you breathe in, and then as you cross out, you breathe out, and then all you focus on is just exploding those strides out. So last drill, now it's the full shebang, the full forward stride. So how this is going to work is we're going to skate from goal line to goal line. The first goal line, when we start, we want to focus on those first few strides. They want to be very, very explosive. We want to bust out 5 to 15 strides. What those first strides are going to look like is the same way like we're revving that engine. The stride is going to be quick. The recovery is always going to be explosive. I'm going to keep doing that, chop, 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 all the way up to about the blue line, the first blue line, let's say. And then it makes no sense for me to keep doing that, chop, 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 all the way down the ice. I've already accelerated up to a max speed. Now all I need to do is maintain that speed. So at the blue line, my stride is going to change just a tiny little bit. The stride was quick, and then the recovery was explosive. The stride will change now into an explosive stride, and an explosive recovery remains the same. A very soft recovery sometimes is the stride, and then a very gentle recovery of the stride. So we don't want gentle, we want it to be very, very explosive every single time. The most common error that I find with this one is players really accelerate well from the goal line to the blue line. The first few strides are really perfect, and they get confused with one thing, and that's the recovery of the stride once you hit the blue. So we reiterated, or just reiterating this, the stride turns into an explosive stride where it's much longer than the first few strides, and the recovery remains explosive. So we want to do the exact same thing. We just want to make sure that the recovery is not a soft recovery, but it's very explosive. So I'm going to actually demonstrate it like a soft recovery, just so that you can see the difference from how I was doing it correctly to how I'm doing it improperly. The most important thing is the switch in the stride. So from the goal line to the blue line, we have a nice quick stride and explosive recovery. Once we hit the blue line, we want to maintain our speed now that we've gained through that acceleration period, and now our stride is no longer quick, but now it's explosive. So it's going to be a heck of a lot longer, but the recovery is still the same. It's still explosive. That's the single most important thing, that once you hit the blue line, in order to maintain the speed, your recovery doesn't all of a sudden turn into something graceful and soft, but it is still explosive, and you still get from, so that you can get from your left stride into the right stride and accelerate even quicker.